All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm here to talk about the top 8 deck list from Deck Devastators 4. So before we get into that, this was hosted by the Crow's Nest. At least they broadcast it anyway. So check out their YouTube channel. I have it up here. As you can see, I'm already subscribed. So go definitely subscribe to the channel. They give a lot of good content, especially analyses post-event that I think is just good to see as far as a breakdown of what everyone was playing, the tech cards that people played, what was in the main deck, like Snowman Eaters and Cyber Dragons, and how many Deep Prisons and Caiuses. There's a lot of good analyses that is done on this channel. So definitely subscribe, like, check that out, and let's get into the deck list. So first up, we have Beast Mode playing Diva Hero. I already saw his video on him picking up this deck recently. So he said he hasn't really play tested it too much, but he got it from the person who won the PS5 tournament out in California, I believe. So this is their list, and it clearly is tried and true, which is funny because the other Diva Hero player is a true hero. But these builds are very different from a True Heroes in that they're maining Snowman Eater, there are D prisons in the deck, there are discard traps, no gold sarcophagus. So there's a lot of big differences. I would say that this deck is built very different, and the playstyle is also very different because of that. Armageddonite in the deck as well. I like it. It's very defensive. I think that this, if you're not trying to just go for OTKs, I think that this build is more suited for a longer game. It's a very grindy kind of deck, the way it's built with the Snowman Eaters and stuff like that, all the defensive options. But I think this is good. I like that it has a Super Poly in the side deck, double deck Devastation Virus, which is really easy to trigger because of Diva going to Catastor. And then it has all the bells and whistles of a Diva Hero deck. You know, your Triple Miracle Fusion, your heroes. Yeah, it's a pretty decent list. I like the Card Trooper for the mills because sometimes you can be missing, you know, either a hero or a water monster, especially in the early game if you get pressured too much, and Card Trooper could theoretically get you there. Or if you're just missing one half of your Miracle Fusion, it can get you there as well. So I like that option to just burst out a absolute zero if you have Card Trooper. I think that that is one of the things that is super relevant. It's one of the things about Lightsworn as well that Card Trooper helps facilitate. If you are missing names for JD or Christia, you could just get there in that turn without having to wait to the end phase for a Lightsworn monster to mill. So the same thing kind of applies here with Card Trooper. But yeah, congrats to Beast Mode on top 8, and let's move on. Okay, so we have another Diva Hero deck. This deck is very clearly popular, and this one is also different. It plays Alias and Spirit Reaper, but it does play the Snowman Eater. So this tournament, Snowman Eater was a huge tech choice. I play Snowman Eater as well in my Monarch deck. I didn't main it because I don't need to, because I play Dupe Frog, but after game 1 against something like Hero Beat, I would definitely side in Snowman Eater because it is basically a god card against that kind of deck. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the Snowman Eaters that everyone is basically playing, and it seems like almost everyone who topped is playing some kind of Snowman Eater somewhere in their deck. So that's interesting to say the least. But yeah, that's clearly as a result of Diva Hero Beat being one of the best decks in the format officially. Like, it has an extremely high win rate, and so all the good players are going to make countermeasures to that deck. It's interesting because this build is kind of a combination of a True Heroes and the one that Beast Mode used as well, because it plays Gold Sark, but then it's also playing things like Deep Prison and stuff. So it's like a mix of two things. But yeah, this deck is definitely one of the best in the format, and expect to hear me talking about it on my next tier list video. So congrats to Ichigo Kurosaki on making top 8 with this deck. Okay, so next up we have Vatos. I am sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm not really sure if that's how you say it. But yeah, Flamvel. I did not expect this on my 2023 bingo card, but this is Edison format where literally anything can top technically if it's piloted well and built well enough. So this is a Flamvel deck. And interestingly enough, Flamvel did actually top the SJC in 2010. I believe, I'm pretty sure it was in the top 16 deck list at that event. And that event had like 2,000 people. So Flamvel is an Edison mainstay. It's not going anywhere. And yeah, this list is definitely also preed a bit for the meta, I would say. Like Cyber Dragon in the main deck, that's an anti-hero beat thing for sure. Also anti-Machina control if that deck is being played still. And I think any deck running the Hamster Reiko Caius engine is just going to be able to do well in any given tournament. Also, Gravekeeper Spy is a really good wall against Alias, and then it reproduces itself, so it makes it where you can't just gem spark it away. Like in theory, you know, Snowman Eater is really good, right? Because you set Snowman Eater, they attack with Alias, you kill the Alias, but if they have Hero Blast, they just kill your Snowman Eater and get the Alias back. In this case with Spy flips up, they take damage, and then another Spy comes out, so it makes it super annoying to get through Spy with Hero Beat specifically. And I can imagine that if this person played against Hero Beat, that their deck had a lot of good defense against it between Rykos and Hamster and Spy. I've always been a person that's been kind of rooting for Flamvel to do decent, because this is a deck that McCabe used to play way back in the day, and I have lost to it many times. Rekindling is a ridiculous card. If you get caught slipping with, like, let's say a Stratos on the field and Firedog connects, and they Rekindling, so that turn they make 2 level 8s, things get really out of hand, especially when they have traps. So Stardust, you know, like Stardust with traps is ridiculous. You summon Stardust and you set a bunch of shit like Deep Prison and Bottomless and Book of Moon and all that, and the games start to get really, really bad. So yeah, I like this list a lot. I like that Darken is easily to be, you can easily make Darken in this deck because of Spy and Flamvel Magician. So that is really cool. Darken is one of the best synchros in the format because it is removal, and most synchros outside of Brionic, of course, do not have that ability just built into them like that. So yeah, Darken being able to be made in this deck is just clutch. But yeah, congrats to Vatos on this deck. All right, next up we have my list. I played Hero Frogs, of course, and you guys have seen me talk with this deck before already. It's one of my favorite decks of the format. I've been really big into the Frogs since I landed on it. I don't know, something about it just feels really good to play. I feel like the ceiling of this deck is really high. You could do a lot of things, and that is the type of stuff that I like, even if it is like kind of hard to play and it's prone to misplays because of that. Like, it's not a Blackwing deck, right? Like, I'm not just summoning short and attacking, or playing Whirlwind and summoning a guy, or, you know, I have to like literally think out a lot of plays. But this deck is really rewarding when you do play well, and not really rewarding when you don't. So I'm a big fan of it, and I also think that, like I said in another video, I think Miracle Fusion is just the best top deck in the format. I have a hard time at this point playing a deck that doesn't play Miracle Fusion. If I'm not going to play Miracle Fusion, though, I would have to be playing Black Whirlwind or some combination of Vayu Sirocco deck. So that's kind of how I see it right now. Those are the best options in the format and the most tried and true and consistent. This build, I did take a slightly different approach from the previous one where I played Triple Threatening Roar. So I played Regeki Breaks this time because I really like Regeki Break in the sense that it outs every issue that the Frog deck could face, like False Diners and Vanity's Fiends in games 2 and 3, so I don't have to side them out. And it also, in game 1, it's still a very, very good card. Like, it hits Whirlwind, it hits Future Fusion, it hits any problematic cards that might be threatening me, and it puts heroes in the graveyard quickly for Miracle Fusion. Alias was stellar this weekend. I will say Alias beats over Stratos, it beats over Fossil Dyna. Those two things are really huge. And the fact that I play multiple copies of Stratos and Ocean and Alias, all things that beat Fossil Dyna, it made Fossil Dyna never really effective against me, like in any match. I don't think I ever lost a game or anything to a Fossil Dyna the entire weekend because I have multiple outs. Like, even Junk Synchron is an out to it too. But yeah, I like just having the Alias as an extra card for E-Call and Rhoda and Stratos. That way, before I used to play 4 heroes, now I play 5. And before, I would draw dead E-Call or Rhoda a little bit more often, but now that doesn't really happen because E-Call has 3 targets as opposed to just 2. It used to just be Ocean and Stratos. So less dead cards is always a good thing. Regeki Break helps with getting rid of dead cards also, so I like that a lot about it too. Like, if I draw 1 for 1 and I've already used all of my substitutes and I don't want to just summon a Battle Fader, even though that play could come up because you could bounce to your hand, Regeki Break helps with that. I can just discard the 1 for 1 because I'm not going to use it for anything else. Same thing with cards like Scapegoat and Dead E-Call. So yeah, this build is, you know, it's the same as my Gladiators of Edison deck that I built for me in Stango. And just the side deck is a really, really big change, I would say. So I'm playing super defensive now with Snowman Eater and Super Polymerization and Torrential Compulse. Like, these are cards that I did not play before I was on the Book of Moon thing. I'm not really a big fan of Book of Moon in the side deck anymore for Frogs. I just think that having blatant removal now is just more of my speed. I don't want to book your Fossil Dyna. I don't want to book your Vanity's Fiend. I want to just straight up remove it from the field. So that's the way I've been feeling. And if you watch the VOD on the Crow's Nest channel, you'll see that all of those things came up many times for me, especially Torrential. Like, dear God, that card won so many games. No one played around it ever. I think, and even when people knew about it, they still ran into it. So yeah, Torrential was just really, really clutch the whole weekend. Super Poly is cool. I play the Super Ally Beast Raptinus so that I could fuse 2 of your aliases if that ever came up. But yeah, this deck is just very, very good. And I did a 2-hour and 40-minute video of my entire tournament run. So if you haven't seen that already, go check that out. you have to be a frog enthusiast to get through that, I would say, unless you just want to hear me talk for that long. But yeah, this deck is decent. So really proud that I was able to perform well with it. All right, next up we have Black Wings featuring Mistral, the 2-star. So this is a 2-star tuner. And outside of this and the Legacy of Yatagarasu, this is the same as any other Blackwing deck you've ever seen. Like, this is pure Blackwings, but it's just playing Legacy and Mistral. And I get it. So when I think about it, Legacy of Yatagarasu is really good against, one, like people who just blindly Monarch as soon as a card is put on the field. It could be good against that. You can chain it, and then you can chain it to things like Icarus attack. So that's really good that you don't actually lose anything. It replaces itself. And you can also chain it to Gemini Spark, because a lot of times if you go summon a guy, attack, and they go Gemini Spark, they can go pop your back row or whatever, and you just chain Legacy and get a free plus. It's also great bait for things like MST and Dust Tornadoes. If you can be really patient with Legacy, it will reward you. My only fear, though, is that in certain game states, you're just going to have to flip this preemptively, and it is like a worse Upstart Goblin at that point. But yeah, it is a powerful card in the sense that in a good player's hands, it can do a lot. If you set, I've been hit by set Trap, Dust Shoot, set Legacy, and I actually had Heavy Storm, and like, I'm not going to not play Heavy Storm on 2 cards if I need to make a play, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I had Substitute and, like, I don't know, Infernal Prodigy or something. I'm going to play Heavy Storm, right? And both of them got chained. And this was in testing, but both of them got chained, and it was basically a blowout. Like, that was just not okay, like, at all. So things like that can happen, and that scares me about this card. Like, it's actually just really a scary card in the hands of a good player. The Mistral, I was trying to think about why this would be played, because this card is a brick to draw. Like, you really don't want to draw this ideally. It's meant, so one of the things I can see that it does, a couple things actually. Value can search it off of Whirlwind. Normally Value doesn't have anything to search, so that's one thing. The other thing is that, so it being a 2-star tuner that can be special summoned means that Shora can theoretically summon this from the deck after he activates his effect, and Blizzard cannot be summoned from the deck. So that is something. Also, Blizzard can bring this back, and if you have a Bora in your hand, you can special Bora and climb to level 8. I really like the idea of climbing to level 8 from a Blizzard summon with a Bora. That is something that you normally can't do. Like, I'm trying to think about ways that would be possible, but yeah, that it's not a thing that Blackwings typically can do, is get to level 8s like that. So yeah, a Bora and a Blizzard gets you to level 8 with this guy in the graveyard, and that is really cool. Outside of that, the side deck and extra deck are just standard Blackwing side deck cards that you always see everywhere. But yeah, this is the Blackwing deck featuring Mistral and Legacy Agarasu. Okay, next up we have ×2 playing Lightsworn. This is the person that eliminated me with this crazy deck. This deck is always one of those ones that it can invalidate you completely as a player. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how bad you are. Lightsworn can just zero diff you. And I've played enough Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially growing up around Steve Silverman, who has won an actual YCS with Lightsworn. I know what it's like to get Lightsworn. So what happened to me on Sunday at Deck Devastators in top 8, I'm used to it. I literally sit there indifferently. I'm like, yep, this is exactly what can happen. This is exactly how bad it can get. When this deck goes off, there is nothing that can stop it. It is absolutely unhinged ridiculousness. And you got to see that on display at Deck Devastators. This deck is definitely something to be afraid of in the format. I think that Christia's one is still a better deck overall, just because like Christia itself is insane, and it basically plays a lot of the same cards. Like, you're still playing JDs and Celestials and stuff like that. But ×2 is teching Cyber Dragon and Glorious Illusion, and those are, I would say, pretty decent against the hero beat meta. Like, especially Cyber Dragon is good against that. And then Glorious Illusion can bring back like a Lila and pop a back row and clear the way. Then you go drop Celestia. So the triple Celestia thing, I'm a big fan of. This card, that card's ridiculous, right? Like, Celestia is absolutely insane. It's a super monarch. Every other thing that you expect from a Lightsworn deck is here. It's also pretty trap heavy in the main and the side. And that, just like my side deck being very defensive, his side deck is very defensive. And I imagine a lot of people were not expecting some of those defensive options. Hell, I didn't expect some of those defensive options. I remember when we played, I think in game 2, I ended up winning game 2, but on the way to winning it, I got compulsed twice. Like, I tried to steal his monster on 2 occasions. I tried to brain control and econ his monster, and he compulsed it twice. And both of the times I did that, I was trying to win that turn. Like, I would have won with brain control or econ, and his monster got compulsed twice. So that card is really good. I understand why he plays it. It's also, can you imagine your opponent summoning JD on you paying 1,000 and you go bottomless and he goes activate compulse and put it back in his hand? Like, could you actually imagine that? But yeah, this deck is definitely a good list, like very solid list. I have nothing bad to say about it. I think Glorious Illusion is a fantastic card as well. Let me be honest, I don't even remember if I knew that it existed. Like, honestly, I had to read what it did. It mills on the end phase, it mills 2 cards. I think that's kind of crazy. So yeah, really, really good card in the Lightsworn deck, the pure Lightsworn deck. And yeah, just bringing some innovation to Lightsworn. You know, everyone was talking about Christiasworn, and now Lightsworn is also like, hey, I'm here too. You know, don't forget about the OG. Yeah, congrats to times 2. All right, so in second place we have That Good Pizza. That Guy Pizza is playing a zombie deck. This is also main decking Cyber Dragon. Geez, there's a lot of Cyber Dragon, and did not see those snowmen at the bottom. So again, like I said, everyone was preed for Diva Hero Beat, and it really worked for basically all of us. We all were going into this tournament with that deck in mind. I see the Dust Tornadoes have returned to the main deck. I know sometimes people go down on Dust Tornadoes, depending on, you know, if there's like too many frogs or whatever around, or Christia Swarm and stuff like that, Dust Tornado becomes awful. But, you know, if Diva Hero B is one of the best decks, then Dust Tornado becomes very good again. And I think this deck naturally has a pretty solid matchup against Diva Hero Beat. Zombies is a deck that no matter what, it can just always perform well. It's so interesting how this deck comes close to winning or actually winning basically every tournament. Like, it doesn't get played that much, I would say. Like, maybe I don't see a lot of people playing it, and they are, and just maybe not doing as well. I know Beast Mode and Silchus are the 2 people who like carry the zombie deck in most of the tournaments. And there's other people too who've done well with it, but those are the 2 ones that come to my mind because they have multiple tops with the deck. But then, like, I don't really see randoms playing zombies like that. Like, I feel like it's not random friendly. I think zombies is a deck that's very hard to play, and which is why when you see zombies in the top, it's usually just one zombie player, right? Like, you don't see multiple people with zombies in the top cut. And I want to say the same thing about frogs too. Like, usually you see like Rodnak or me, and that's it when it comes to certain decks. So zombies is very difficult to play, and it rewards you for playing well. And yeah, it can just win any given tournament. It's always going to be an S tier deck. I personally do not like the deck, but that doesn't really like mean anything. It's just not for me. But I acknowledge that it is a good deck. So congrats to That Good Pizza on making second place with this. And last but not least, here's the one that we all have been waiting for. This is the one that everyone's talking about. Fitz, which was my only loss in Swiss. I talked about how I played against him when I was completely butt-ass naked because I ran out the shower. I didn't know that the round would go up early. There was only one round that went up early during the tournament, and it happened to be the round that I decided to go take a shower. So I told my friends, like, hey, if the round goes up, please ping me. And I just so happened to be literally showering when the round went up, and we played each other, and I got smoked by this deck. Okay, I got absolutely smoked by it. A lot of things went wrong, and you can check out my video on it. You know, check out my run. But yeah, this was my only loss in Swiss. This deck, when you look at it on paper, it doesn't look as good as it actually plays. I always find that interesting when decks, like certain decks look good on paper. You look at Blackwings, you look at like Frog decks and stuff like that, Lightsworn, they just have an aesthetic to them that makes them look good. And when you look at this, right, you look at these monsters, it's like a motley of monsters. They're just random fucking monsters in a deck, but there's so much synergy and stuff going on here, even though all of the cards look differently. And there's a lot of defense, but also a good amount of aggression as well. It does a little of everything, and I like that. It's kind of hard to play against because you don't know where the game is going to go. They could one turn be sitting there walling up with a Snowman Eater and doing Hamster Ryko stuff, and then out of nowhere, the Brood Dragon can come down and Black Rose the field and clear the way. And next thing you know, you're getting hit with Red Eyes and stuff like that, or you get hit with Quackimiro Drago when you have Gores. So this deck is interesting. I also love that Upstart Goblin won the tournament because I think that Upstart Goblin is underused card in Edison format. I understand a lot of people didn't want to play it because this event was actually timed. So Upstart Goblin in a timed event is technically worse if you're going to go in a time. I went in the time 1 round out of this whole tournament. And what did I play? Like 9 rounds, I think, total. So I went into time. I don't know if Fitz went into time ever. His deck is, it can be aggressive, but it's also defensive, so maybe. But yeah, the only concern is like if you go into time, then obviously Upstart Goblin can be a bit of a liability, but then Red Eyes Darkest Metal Dragon mitigates that for sure if you see it. Also, Upstart Goblin guarantees that you see Future Fusion more often, and even if it's just by like 2%, that is worth it because that card literally invalidates every other deck in Dragons. Like, it is one of the craziest cards in the format, specifically in Dragons. It is the absolute best. So yeah, and Gold Sark, again, these are all cards just to see Future Fusion, your win condition, one of your win conditions, I should say. And the side deck is a motley of cards as well. So I see My Body, I see Soul Taker. I understand why all these cards are played. I don't think we need to discuss why they're played. A lot of them are pretty obvious, but it's a lot of different things, a lot of different one-ofs, and I love that. Mind Crush, you got the Compulse, the Dust Tornado, the Deep Prison, Soul Taker, My Body, Mind Control, another Draco. Like, all of these cards make sense to me. Within the extra deck, the only thing that is you don't normally see, except I guess in a dragon deck, is the Exploder Dragon Wing and Trident Dragon. Everything else is, you typically would see those cards in any given extra deck. But yeah, shout out to Fitz for winning the whole thing. I hope that we will get a rematch eventually where I will be playing without being flustered and also fully clothed. That would be nice. He commented under my video and was like, yeah, hopefully we get that rematch. But yeah, congrats to everybody who did well at this event. Congrats to the rest of the people who made top 12. I love seeing a lot of innovation in the format, so that's always welcome. And yeah, who knew that dragons and zombies would be in the finals of the tournament, let alone top 8 having dragons, zombies, Flamvel, Blackwings, Frog Heroes. Like, it's just all over the place. There's so many different decks in top 8, and that is quintessential Edison format. Anyways, guys, I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.